Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Royal Telly. Your host, Chloe, is here to share an interesting story with you. We are at a juncture in history where a nation's collective conscience is being stirred, where established narratives are being questioned, and uncomfortable truths are surfacing. This stirring moment was sparked by a single viral tweet from respected royal historian Kate Williams. In her tweet, Kate Williams held up a mirror to Britain, reflecting the appalling treatment of Meghan Markle by the British media. She drew a chilling parallel to the harassment faced by Princess Diana, and suddenly, the public response was not a knee-jerk defense of the establishment. Instead, it was a wave of shame and regret, a painful admission. We failed them both. For years, we've been fed a simple narrative. Harry and Meghan were petulant, entitled, and demanding. They couldn't handle the pressure, and their departure was a betrayal of duty. This narrative was crafted meticulously by a tabloid press that had a voracious appetite for negative headlines about Meghan. It was amplified by royal commentators and a vocal group of online critics who magnified every piece of gossip, every misstep, every manufactured outrage. But this viral tweet forced people to look beyond the headlines and confront the reality. A reality where a mixed-race woman was subjected to a level of scrutiny and venom that no other royal bride had ever faced. The cruelty was constant, global, and amplified by a 24/7 news cycle. The public reaction is perhaps the most telling part of this story. For every person still clinging to the old narrative, there are dozens now admitting, "I'm embarrassed to be British." They see the stark double standard. They see how Prince Andrew, embroiled in a serious scandal, was shielded by the very institutions that allowed Meghan to be relentlessly attacked. They see the contrast, and they're rightly questioning it. A single viral tweet has stirred up the collective conscience of a nation. It's a wake-up call, a reminder that the media doesn't just create stories, they create a culture. And when that culture is one of relentless criticism, a lack of empathy, and a refusal to acknowledge racism, the entire nation is complicit. A single viral tweet has stirred up the collective conscience of a nation. For years, we've been fed a simple narrative about Harry and Meghan, but is it the real story? This narrative, carefully spun by the tabloid press, depicted Harry and Meghan as demanding, entitled, and incapable of handling the pressures of royal life. The story was simple and digestible, but it was also misleading and destructive. This narrative was not born out of observation or analysis, but rather from a hunger for scandal and a disregard for the truth. Fueled by a relentless tabloid press, every piece of gossip, every perceived misstep, every manufactured outrage was amplified and echoed by royal commentators and a small yet vocal group of online critics. This echo chamber, powered by the tabloids' insatiable appetite for negative headlines about Meghan, created a distorted reality. A reality where a woman of mixed race was subjected to an unprecedented level of scrutiny and hostility, the likes of which no other royal bride had ever experienced. Headlines didn't just report the news, they shaped it. They likened Meghan to a gangster's moll, used coded language that was impossible to ignore, and amplified the cruelty to a global scale. This was not journalism, it was character assassination. The public, for the most part, swallowed this narrative whole. But the echo chamber was not impenetrable. For every person clinging to the old narrative, there were dozens who began to question it. They saw the stark double standard, the shielding of Prince Andrew amidst a serious scandal, while Meghan was left to the wolves. They saw the contrast, and they began to question it. The truth, it seems, is often different from the headlines. The power of media narratives is undeniable, but so too is the power of the people to question, to challenge, and to change the narrative. The wake-up call has been sounded, and the narrative is beginning to shift. It's a painful process, but it's a necessary one, because in the end, the truth always has a way of coming to light. This viral moment has forced us to confront a harsh reality. It's a reality where Meghan, a mixed-race woman, was subjected to an unprecedented level of scrutiny and venom. The headlines were cruel, using coded language to paint her in an unfavorable light. Terms like gangster's moll were thrown around, and the cruelty was constant. The attacks were global, and the 24/7 news cycle only amplified the noise. There's a stark difference in the treatment of Meghan compared to other royal brides. The level of scrutiny she faced was unparalleled. The media's relentless pursuit of negative headlines about her created a hostile environment that was impossible to ignore. This was not just about a few rogue tabloids, it was a culture of relentless criticism and a refusal to acknowledge racism. But now, people are being forced to look beyond the headlines and confront the reality. The public's reaction is perhaps the most telling part of this story. For every person still clinging to the old narrative, there are dozens now admitting, "I'm embarrassed to be British." They see the stark double standard, how Prince Andrew, embroiled in a serious scandal, was shielded by the same institutions that allowed Meghan to be relentlessly attacked. They see the contrast and they're rightly questioning it. This isn't just about what was done to Harry and Meghan. It's about what was done by a society that consumed and clicked on every single one of those hateful stories. The public is finally seeing the stark double standards, and they're not happy. The shame and regret surfacing from parts of the UK can't erase the harm that was done, but it's a sign that history is finally being written with honesty. The public is finally seeing the stark double standards, and they're not happy. The shame and regret now surfacing from parts of the UK can't erase the harm that was done, but it is a sign that history is finally being written with a dose of honesty. This moment serves as a wake-up call for everyone. It's a jarring reminder of the power the media holds, not just in crafting narratives, but in shaping the very culture we exist in. When we consume these stories, we become part of the system, the machine that churns out these narratives. And it's high time we acknowledge the complicity that comes with that consumption. We've been fed a steady diet of negativity and criticism, a lack of empathy, and an outright refusal to acknowledge the racial undertones that pervaded the coverage of Meghan. And we, as a society, lapped it up. We clicked on every story, shared every scandalous headline, and in doing so, we contributed to the harm that was done. The guilt and shame that's beginning to surface isn't just about Harry and Meghan. It's about us. It's about a society that allowed this to happen, that reveled in the drama without pausing to consider the human cost. Every comment confessing embarrassment, every tweet expressing regret is a mirror held up to us. It's a reflection of the double standards we've allowed to persist, of the toxicity we've let seep into our culture. We've seen how Prince Andrew was shielded by the very institutions that allowed Meghan to be relentlessly attacked. We've seen the contrast, and we're finally beginning to question it. This wake-up call is a chance for us to do better, to demand better from our media and from ourselves. It's a chance to step back from the relentless cycle of scandal and outrage and to consider the impact of the stories we consume and share. The nation's conscience is stirring, and it's about time. We owe it to ourselves and to future generations to foster a culture that prioritizes empathy and fairness over scandal and outrage. It's a tall order, but it's one that we must strive for if we are to learn anything from the treatment of Harry and Meghan. Because at the end of the day, they're not just royals, they're human beings deserving of respect and dignity, just like the rest of us. Harry and Meghan have managed to survive and thrive despite everything. Quite a statement, isn't it? Yet, it's true. From the ashes of a relentless media assault, they've risen, stronger and more determined than ever before. Nestled in the serene hills of Montecito, they've created a new home, a sanctuary, away from the piercing gaze of the British tabloids. Their foundation, Archewell, is flourishing, a testament to their unwavering commitment to service, compassion, and community building. From multi-million-dollar partnerships to grassroots initiatives, they're harnessing their global influence to effect meaningful change. Their media projects, too, are successful. The launch of Archewell Audio, their podcasting venture with Spotify, and their multi-year deal with Netflix demonstrate their ability to pivot, to reinvent themselves, and to command the narrative on their own terms. Yet it's not just about their professional triumphs. It's about their personal resilience. It's about their survival of a toxic system that sought to break them, that sought to reduce Meghan, a woman of incredible strength and grace, to a caricature to be mocked and vilified. But they refused to be broken. They stood their ground, they spoke their truth, and they chose their happiness over a life of silent suffering. They are survivors, and their story is a beacon of hope for anyone who has ever felt marginalized, misunderstood, or maligned. The shame and regret now surfacing from parts of the UK can't erase the harm that was done, but it is a sign that history is finally being written with a dose of honesty. It's a sign that people are starting to question, to challenge, to demand better. And so, as we reflect on this story, let's remember that it's not just about Harry and Meghan, it's about all of us. It's about the kind of society we want to live in, the kind of stories we choose to consume, and the kind of truth we're willing to confront. Thank you for joining me today on Royal Telly. I'm Chloe, and I believe in celebrating the truth. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.